You're listening to Crosstalk, Conversations with Kurtis. Crosstalk, Conversations with Kurtis is brought to you by
Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. With a stellar reputation as an outstanding mortgage lender, Ray Cruz serves the lending needs of real estate professionals, builders, and individual homebuyers in Maryland, Washington, D.C., Virginia, Texas, California, Florida, Illinois, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Ray believes that integrity is the cornerstone of his business, and helping you achieve your home financing goals is his business. Located in the heart of Bethesda, Maryland, contact Ray P. Cruz today to get started. Your home mortgage or refinance options await. Call 301-761-2278 or visit raypcruz.com. Ray P. Cruz, mortgages intelligently.
For more than 20 years, I have seen Gene the Barber for my haircuts. I am proud to say that Gene the Barber is now the owner of a new shop, his own shop, Max Life Barber and Salon. Max Life is family friendly with barbers and stylists for men, women, and children. Located at 6859 New Hampshire Avenue in Takoma Park, Maryland, Max Life Barber and Salon is now the new home of Gene the Barber. Of course, you'll get Gene's signature service, but now Gene has several barbers to choose from. Schedule an appointment today by calling 240-687-7253.
A Squared Home and Office Solutions is the go-to source for home or office network and audio-visual solutions. We can help with smart home integration, wireless networking, media rooms, security systems, and more. We will link technology to your lifestyle seamlessly. Read our reviews online. Visit homeandofficesolutions.com for more info or call 240-356-8832. A Squared Home and Office Solutions. We are home advisor screened and approved.
You're listening to Crosstalk, Conversations with Kurtis. Here's your host, Kurtis Cross.
Welcome to Conversations with Kurtis. I am your host, Kurtis Cross, and as always, I'm excited to be here with you today. Today, we're going to get into a great conversation, but first, I want to thank our sponsors, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage, Gene the Barber, and of course, A Squared Home and Office Solutions. Be sure to connect with me socially at Kurtis Talks on Instagram and Twitter, or www.kurtistalks.com. All right, this is Conversations with Kurtis, and I'm excited to get into a conversation with a guest that we have coming to us in just a moment. But I want you to listen to our other podcasts. Crosstalk, The Kurtis and Paula Show, a lifestyle, love, marriage, and parenthood podcast. You'll hear all about the day-to-day life of me and Paula. Take It to You with Turner and O'Neill. That is a local and national sports podcast hosted by me, along with coaches Steve Turner and Casey O'Neill, along with DJ Chrissy. The Midnight Truck Stop at 911 Radio. Both of these podcasts are hosted by Big T and the Blue Knight. You'll hear stories from truckers, 911 calls, law enforcement officers, and a host of interesting guests. All of these podcasts can be heard on Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube. You can check them out. You can go to Buzzsprout. You can go to Apple Podcasts. Wherever you get your podcast content is where you can hear this and every podcast that I just mentioned. Once again, you're listening to Crosstalk, Conversations with Kurtis. I thank you for joining the conversation today. Today, I'd like to welcome to the conversation Amani Roberts. Amani, how's it going, fella?
It is going very well. Thank you for having me, Kurtis.
All right, look, you can't outdo me with the cool DJ voice, all right? Let's not do that. It's still my podcast, right? How you going to do you're supposed to be the young brother. You're supposed to be the little brother, right?
Okay, yes, very true, very true. My bad.
Amani, look, you have several feathers in your cap, several bullet points on your resume. Please tell everyone, who is Amani Roberts? Talk to us about the Amani Experience, please.
Amani Roberts is a DJ, music producer, professor, author, based out of Los Angeles, California, from Silver Spring, Maryland, Washington, D.C. area. Amani is also a very recent graduate of Berklee College of Music in Boston with my master's in music business. And I'm just a dude who loves music and loves to play music and teach people how to DJ. And that's what I am. That's what I do. And I love it.
You know, I'm glad you said that, because that's too much for me to type or put on the screen or whatever. Your resume is outstanding. Amani, you and I have known each other for quite some time. And it started back in, I guess it would have to have been the 80s.
Yes.
And you were a few years behind me in age, but I'd like to say that you are probably equal to or beyond where I am in terms of what we've done. You've amassed your experience relatively quickly. But it was not it was certainly on a solid platform. But let's talk about how this all began. You and I met right here in Montgomery County some years ago, and I'll let you take it from there.
Yes, you were DJing a party at the Takoma Park Rec Center. I forget whose birthday party it was, but you were the DJ there. That was my first exposure to a DJ. I had no idea what it was besides what showed up on the radio. And then I saw you there. I'm pretty sure you had turntables, mixer, going between the thing, big speakers, and I was just like, I was overwhelmed and just like, wow, that is something I want to do, but didn't think it was possible for me.
Right.
And so that's when I first saw you. And then luckily I went to, because at the time, I think I was a freshman, or I was a freshman at Blair, I think. And we went to the same school. And so I kind of followed along with your career along the way. And, you started really small, but got to be really big. And then I remember, I believe I ran into you because I moved away and went to like Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Miami,
Yeah.
and then came back to DC. I believe it was Jackie and Vic's wedding is when I saw you again.
Okay.
I saw you again, and I was like, oh, yes, because I never forgot you, and I always see the postings online, and that's when I was like, okay. Now, at that time, I could see it a little bit more for me. Like, I could see, it's possible, and then I saw you again, and I was like a little bit more confirmation, and that's when I saw you again, and then eventually I reached out once I moved to LA and started DJ, and from there, here we are.
It sounds like you said, if that fool can do it, I can do it too. That's what I'm hearing.
No, I was just like, I think what it was is that I saw you in '88, then I saw you again in like 2000 and I don't know what it was, 4 or 5 or whatever. I was like, wow, he's still doing it, and it's a legit career. It's possible, and that's kind of what the confirmation was.
Amani, I don't know if any of us actually thought that it would be a full-time career. We were doing what we loved. We loved the music. For me back then, it was Eric B. and Rakim. It was UTFO. It was Houdini. It was Madonna. It was Stevie B. I was all over the place. I was anywhere from my dad wanting me to listen to Wilson Pickett and James Brown and Rare Earth, the Average White Band. To me, I remember, the first record I ever bought was a Rod Stewart record, but the first record I remember having that was my pride and joy was Paid in Full, Eric B. and Rakim.
Yes,
Having that album, and we're talking about Paid in Full, we're talking Eric B. as president, we're talking Microphone Fiend, we're talking all of that. And we're talking, we're going to date ourselves, but we're talking about real hip hop. We're talking about some good stuff. We're talking Microphone Fiend, where there really was no chorus. It was all verse from beginning to end.
Yes.
And that kind of thing. And then we're talking BDP and, like I said, UTFO. I listen to Frank Ski's Breaker's Delight every Saturday night, maybe at 9 o'clock.
90.1 WDC radio.
WDCU is what it was,
yes,
exactly.
Yes.
And he is blown up because I think he's syndicated now. But none of us really, and I'm going to speak to another one of my DJs this month, or another DJ friend of mine this month, Miguel, who was my inspiration to DJ, and he'll probably say the same, but I don't know that any of us thought that. Did you imagine in '88 that being a professor in music and teaching the craft would be where you are? I just wanted to spin. That's all I wanted to do. Yeah. And if someone was willing to pay me, I would do it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you and I got together a few years ago, and I don't know if you emailed or texted or we connected via Facebook or whatever it was. I'm sure we were Facebook friends, and a message or two were sent. You're coming into town. Your mother's still here, and I feel like, is your brother here as well?
Yeah,
right.
He was. He lives in Brazil now, but he was there. Yeah.
I imagine it was probably around the holidays as well, because you would come home for the holidays or what have you. And we got together and we talked. And I believe, and I don't want to overstep here, I believe the purpose of us talking, you wanted to get some ideas and put some things on paper, but I think that I took some steps there as well. Not as a mentor, but as the mentee. I think we both helped each other. Let's talk about that conversation. How did that come to be?
Yeah, because I was coming in town. I'd already started to DJ, but my business was very, very, I won't say slow, it was young. It was in its infancy. I was trying to figure out like the best way to grow. Pricing was always a huge challenge for me, making sure you're priced what you're worth, but you still get enough business to maintain, keep the doors open. how you would go about hiring other DJs, storing equipment, supplying equipment. Like you had a lot of logistics in place that I wasn't there with yet
Okay.
and didn't know how to get there. And I just wanted to kind of pick your brain, talk to you, see what you thought, what lessons you had learned that you wouldn't repeat the second time through.
Right.
And so we met over at the Starbucks right off of University Boulevard, I believe, and just chatted.
That's what we did. But it is worth noting that I learned some things from you because, before we sit down, I say to myself, well, let me check out his website. He's going to have questions. What am I seeing that I feel like he can do better? And I feel like I'm pretty strong with sales and marketing and that kind of thing. But I looked at your website and I told you then, and as I tell you now, our website was fine, but I saw something better in your website that was taking steps forward into a space to meet future clients where they were. No longer are people going in the yellow pages. No longer are people looking at websites that are, content rich and text heavy and all of that. They want to get in, they want to get out. Here's one of the nuggets that I drop to people all the time. Your Facebook ad, your Google ad, whatever you might do on Canva or your content creators out there, you have to create something that's going to make people want to do business with you in the amount of time that it takes them to look at it at a stoplight. Now, no one should be on their phone while they're in the car, but while they're at a stoplight, you have got to grab them and give them a reason to take the next step. We call it a call to action, right?
Right.
So, I realized that the websites of old where you would scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and read so much stuff, they're gone. People, these days, they don't have the attention span. I believe they do, but they won't take that time.
Right.
They simply won't. Everyone is busy. Even in the pandemic, people are too busy to read, an entire website and all that. You got to give them a reason to push that button now and call now or fill out your form now. You had some great content on your website, and I feel like you and I had a slope intersect that was real similar, but you had an eye on the future better than I had an eye on the future. I've got the experience. I've got the website. I got a warehouse full of 10 sound systems and, 4, 5, 6 dozen wireless LED uplights. I've got all that stuff. But how are we putting that to use for today's consumer? And today's consumer is not the consumer that I was dealing with in the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s. So I think you were able to bridge that gap for me, and perhaps I was able to throw a line to you and say, come on, this is what we're going to do to be a multi-op. Because I think you had 2 or 3 DJs maybe when we first met.
Yeah.
And, hopefully that has grown. But even if it hasn't grown, I think you are in a space where you know where you belong. You've diversified. That's huge.
Yeah.
You've diversified there. No longer is it Amani the DJ. It's MPI. It is, corporate events. It is the book that I see right over your, I don't know, is it your left or right shoulder? I don't know.
Left
You're turned
shoulder.
around. Right,
Yeah, left shoulder, right there.
I see it up there. We're going to get into the book. DJs mean business. We're going to do that.
Yes.
And we're not talking shameless plugs. We're talking something you better be proud of.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. So we were able to bridge that gap, Amani. And so where are you now? Where are you now? You were struggling then, you say. You need to pick my brain. What did you extract from that? If there were 2 or 3 things you got from me, what helped move you forward into where you are now, this space?
Your process for when you send out DJs to events and how you set them up for success, get the feedback from the client. That was probably the main one right there. How you grew and would take time in terms of adding DJs to the roster. That was a really important lesson, which I learned from you. And then, just the marketing that you would do. We talked extensively about marketing to like the schools, how you'd send them not emails, like the
postcards,
printed letters, postmarks and letters. That was huge. That was really, really big. And how you would consistently do that. And you might not see any return the first time, but then after a little while, you get a little return, and then you keep sending it out, and then you just keep doing it and keep doing it. And that was another big learning. So those are the 3 that I think of right off the bat, because that was huge, because it's still traditional, sales, traditional marketing, and it still works if you're consistent. And then consistency would be number 4, because you just have your schedule. You keep doing it, and then eventually you add 2 schools, 3 schools, 4 schools, 10, and then you have other clients, and it grows from there. So those would be the top kind of 4 things I took away.
Yeah, I forgot we did talk about that, and I know it may have been slow going at first, but yeah, we've done that for years. Back in the 80s, I would handwrite each envelope. and send them out. And then my sister was working part-time for a government agency, and she had something called labels. And she was able to print these for me, so I didn't have to write. To this day, I know almost each school in the area's address because it's written up here because I had to write them so many times. But no, that has worked. I mean, with the pandemic, we're not seeing so much on the lower school and middle school levels. We're seeing the high schools are still having homecomings and proms. But no, that was something we did, and we still do it. I've got letters in my attic right now that are addressed and ready to go in January so we can get these proms, And if I'm not mistaken, so I need our audience, our listeners and our viewers to understand this. There are, I would say conservatively, 2,500 DJs in the DC metropolitan area. This guy flew in to do a wedding.
Yes.
I think you may have been coming in anyway, or you were like, I have a weekend off. And I'm like, Amani, I need you here.
Yeah.
And you did actually the former coach of DeMatha. It was his wedding, Mike Jones.
Right. Yeah.
He's down at Virginia Tech now. He's the associate head coach at Virginia Tech.
Nice. Congrats. Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
But he couldn't turn down that offer they made. He couldn't turn that down.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of talent that you have. And perhaps that speaks to, you said how we curate the process for finding DJs. I'm not just going to hire some guy off Craigslist to do a wedding. I mean, I know what Amani can do, and whatever the pay is, it's worth it to me for you to get that wedding right, which of course you did. I think I was in the Dominican Republic, and I flew, touched down at BWI, and drove right to that wedding to catch up to you guys. Yeah, absolutely. So now, you helped me to diversify. You opened up our opportunities. You helped me to see what my worth was, and you threw me a few things that you say I helped you understand. But I would say the biggest things that you were able to open my eyes to were the corporate money. I did not realize, for those of you who don't know, as DJs, I think it's in all of our hearts that when we start this thing, it's not for the money. We love the music. We want people to party. We want to know that, and for some of us, it's ego. For some of us, it's just, wanting people to have a great time. And at some point as a DJ, you probably have an ego because you're dropping the latest hit and people are going crazy. But we want to see people have a good time, whether it's a basement party, a nightclub with 1,000 people on it, a beach party, or whatever. But you open my eyes to the corporate money. And we won't talk dollar signs and figures and all of that. But when you're able to position yourself as an expert and you're able to position yourself in front of those corporate types, corporate entertainment is huge. It's really huge. I learned that probably 20 years ago when we were doing a corporate, it was a product launch or it was a gala for a corporation. And I knew what our contract had in it. And I knew how much we were getting paid. But there was a young lady whose whole shtick was she dressed and spoke and acted like Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. They flew her in for an inspirational, motivational speech, gave her a room and all of that, and flew her back out of town. I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah. She was up there for like 40 minutes. I've been here for 5 hours, and I know she got paid more than me and got treated better than me. Yes. She positioned herself as an expert. She had a niche, and she did something that I didn't do. Yeah. But you helped me to understand what that corporate money was about. And we're talking Macy's, we're talking Nike, we're talking Under Armour, we're talking, you look at the DJ who's spinning at a Dillard's or a JCPenney or a Neiman Marcus on a Saturday afternoon, and you're like, who wants to be doing that? Well, when you see the paychecks that come along with those corporate gigs, you recognize why. And you and I have spoken about that, and that's to be left off the podcast, but I thank you for that. Getting your worth and opening up opportunities. We were doing school dances, this, that, and the other, but it turned out that sitting down with you allowed me to diversify and see, you know what? This equipment is sitting Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Why are we not doing live sound for some events? Why are we not doing lighting for events? I mean, I'm sitting here picking my, pulling my hair out, trying to figure it out. And then you just need one break and you get that break and you get into that circle. Yeah. And then you're known as the company that can provide sound and lighting, and you can record for people. You can master the recordings of their meetings. And there's more to DJing than DJing, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because when JBL sold me that equipment, they didn't say you can use it for DJing only, right?
No. Yeah. You can use it for whatever you want to use it for.
And years ago, I opened up the studio and I'm podcasting. I'm doing 5 different podcasts, and there's a dollar figure attached to that as well. Let's talk MPI. We're talking about diversifying. MPI is something you wanted me to get involved with for quite some time. I would argue that me podcasting would be where that took the MPI space that I had available. But talk about MPI, because not only have you, did you open your eyes to MPI, not only did you go to some meetings, not only did you become a member, but we have elevated beyond that to things that I have to watch on Facebook because you don't text me to tell me. So tell me about MPI.
MPI, Meetings Professional International. It's an international association where meeting event professionals all over the world gather to learn, to network, to grow their businesses. There are chapters all over the world. There's the Potomac chapter, which is on, the DC area. I'm a part of the Southern California chapter. I'm actually the chapter president currently of our chapter. I think we're the fourth or fifth largest chapter. First African-American president also. It is a lot of work, but it's well worth it. It is open.
So hold on, you are the what now?
The chapter president. I am the chapter president.
You get some applause for that. Get some applause for that.
Yes, you can.
All right.
And so it changed my life. I tell the story frequently. I'm also a professor at California State University, Fullerton. I would not have that job if it was not for MPI.
All right.
I get a lot of business from MPI, and I'm a fan. I'm an advocate, and it's worth it. But you have to put the time in, and you get out of it what you put into it. And it's really helpful. So I always love to share the story and encourage people to at least go to a meeting or two, network, see what you can get from it, but see also what you can give. Because, professional development can help you personally and professionally, and it's really important. And they provide many opportunities for that to happen on a consistent basis.
So why? But why does someone want to go to a meeting? Tell me what they're going to get from it. How is it going to help them? And you know what? We often look at, well, if I go to this meeting, what am I going to get out of it? Mm-hmm. Well, also, I would encourage people, I would challenge people, what can you give to it as well, right? But why? Why is someone going to one of these meetings?
I'll look at it from a couple of perspectives. Like for us, being like an entrepreneur can be a very lonely experience. So you get to meet other people who are out here in the space doing the same thing what you're doing. Mm-hmm. You can learn the latest updates with news, with the industry, with health, which is really important nowadays. Yeah. You just get to meet people. You get to see different venues that you might not have access to normally. And then, for those venues, for us DJs, we can work with them, meet the people who are in charge of placing different vendors on their vendor list. It allows you to grow your business. Like you will meet people there they'll say, okay, you're a DJ or DJ company. Are you free this day? I have some sound needs. Or have you talked to this person? So it's the connections and the networking. Networking is the key in life. And this just provides an open atmosphere for you to network with other professionals in your space. And it's up to you what you do with it. But the opportunity is there and the people are gathered there to do the same thing. So
for the same reason you're there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. And then I encourage people to volunteer, because then when you volunteer and you join a committee and you help out, that's when you kind of really get to know people on a less formal basis. They get to know you. They see your work ethic. Like, oh, okay, Kurtis, he shows up to the meetings. He has great ideas. He's helping us with this committee. Let's nominate him for a Volunteer of the Month award. And then you get more exposure. And then someone else was at a meeting, maybe that has a really, really nice exclusive venues. Like, oh, that's Kurtis Cross. He has a DJ company, but he's here at MPI giving his time and he's being recognized for it. That's the kind of company or person that I want to work with my venue, my business. And then it just grows from there. And it's been an amazing experience. I'm president right now. We have a lot going on with, the pandemic and things changing every minute, every hour, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
So Amani, I would say that the weakest part of my business game, something I've never been interested in, and I'm going to make an admission right here. Some of my friends know this, not everyone knows this. Here's my admission that it won't stop the world from turning, but my admission, I have never been a people person. Now, I'm in the people business. I've DJ'd down in South Beach. I've DJ'd at the Palladium in Webster Hall in New York. I've DJ'd in front of probably my biggest crowd. I've DJ'd at Wizards games, and I won't claim 20-some thousand people on my resume, but I've DJ'd large gigs in front of 5,000 people. I'm not really a people person. Therefore, the networking thing has always been the one thing I've never wanted to do. Yeah. I've never wanted to go to people and say, hi, I'm Kurtis. I'm with Dynamic DJ Entertainment, blah, 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 blah. But how are they going to know who I am if I don't, I believe that, people say it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I completely disagree. I think it's who knows you. Because if I know 50 Cent and he doesn't know me, that doesn't get me anywhere. I'm not able to capitalize on that. So people have to know who you are. And of course, I'm sure you've heard, you have to work hard enough. And so you don't have to introduce yourself anymore. Right. So that's been one of the weakest parts of me growing my business is that I am not one to go into an event and rub elbows and network with people. But there's a huge, huge value in that because everybody knows a DJ. Everybody's cousin is a DJ or friend is a DJ or college roommate is a DJ. But until they know who we are and the value we bring, that's where I think MPI comes in. And I think folks are looking for the immediate payoff because when I hear you say volunteer for a committee, I think of some folks that I have mentored who would be zero interested in that because where's the payoff right now?
Yeah.
That's got to be a long-term thing. We got to run this race for a marathon, right?
It is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And if you're looking for a quick payoff, then it's probably not the best fit for you. But I would ask, if you're always looking for the quick payoff, how are you planning to grow your business long-term? Because that's how it works. You have a relationship with people, and then they call you a year later, 2 years later, say, I need this, I need that. And then introduce you to other people. It just doesn't work that way. There's no quick fixes.
And I'm sure you've come across folks who have your card from a year ago or 2 years ago, or who remember when you were just starting, and yet they call. I've had one of my very good family friends, Janet and Pike. I did Janet's holiday party like 15 years ago. She got married like 6 years ago and called me for her wedding. She was not the client at the holiday party. She was a guest at the holiday party. That's just one example, but no, these things grow and grow. And I think when you do your best work, when you don't do it for the paycheck, but you do it because there's integrity behind what you do, that'll show. And the payday will come. I mean, It sounds cliche, but the payday will come. You've done $200 gigs. You have. You've done $1,000 gigs. And who knows where the price point is now, but, it'll be there. It certainly will be there. There's a book over your shoulder. I need to hear about it. Or our people need to hear about it. I have a copy. I have my copy.
Yes, you should. And so here's a book right there, DJs Mean Business.
Yes, sir.
It takes you through the time slots of a DJ set and relates it to growing a business. So for example, 10 p.m. to 10:15 p.m. When you're first in the club, just building rapport with the people that are in the club, trying to get them to stay, but warming up the rest of the people that are arriving, and you want to get them to stay there. We fast forward to 11 p.m. That's the troubleshooting hour, one of my favorite hours because something always goes wrong in the DJ booth, whether it be a speaker going out, computer acting crazy, needles, something. Same thing in business. Something will go wrong in your business. How do you shift and keep going because the music can never stop? Get to prime time, midnight, just hit after hit. Keep the dance floor cracking. What can you do to do that in business? How can you continue to grow your business, year over year, month over month, just keep growing. They go to one of my favorite times, 1:30 p.m. Nostalgia. How can nostalgia help you recreate your business? For me, I love to play slow jams. I do a lot of stuff on Twitch with like music, slow jams.
I mean, you're big on it. Look, we got to talk about these slow jams. You're trying to have love music on it. I'm trying to rock the house. I need power hours. But you and your Quiet Storm slow jam sessions. That's Amani, y'all.
Sunday nights on Twitch. I love to do that. But you look at businesses and they use the same kind of concept, nostalgia, whether it be Adidas, Old Spice, Nintendo, to recreate and grow new businesses. Right. And then after the gig is done, you have feedback. For me, I had a unique opportunity to get feedback where I used to drive for Uber. So after I would be done the club, I'd turn my little meter app on. I'd pick up people who were in the club that I DJ'd with, take them home, get feedback, and then reveal that I was a DJ, and it was really cool.
Right.
And that's a general summary of the book. Of course, I'm missing a few chapters. Actually, the second edition of the book just came out on Audible, so you can listen to me narrate it. And I get interviewed. Time now. I'm not big time. I get interviewed by Melissa Majors after each chapter, so that's another cool thing in there. Yeah. That's the book. Now you're getting ready, working on the second book.
You are. And I think that opportunity came up shortly after you dropped the first one. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the second book, and like I spoke about, I've been since, my quarantine project was grad school. So since June of 2020, I've been going to Berklee College of Music in Boston. And my thesis, which is like a culminating experience project, was why there are no longer any Black R&B groups on the Billboard chart since 2004. Okay. And so I go through all the research for that, just phenomenal research, and have come up with like 4 or 5 really strong reasons. I'm going to turn that into a book with a lot of interviews and a lot of predictions for the future. And that's kind of the project I'm working on now. I mean, I just finished the thesis. I'm going to take a little break, but that's kind of the next book.
So where is the Amani Experience now? Where is the business? I know at that coffee shop, there were you and maybe 1 or 2 other DJs. Where are you now? Are we thinking Do we measure our success in terms of number of gigs we do or the type of gigs we do? How are you measuring your success, and what does the Amani experience look like now?
Yeah, that's a good question. Kind of coming out of the pandemic, because we did lose a lot of business for a good period of time. But during that time, I also was very, very active on Twitch. And so I was able to actually achieve Twitch Partner, which is a massive accomplishment. It took a lot of work. So I'd say we're kind of a hybrid. We still do in-person events. We're more selective in terms of what we do, primarily focus on corporate events. I do a lot of live streaming, hybrid events. Like I did a virtual event the other day where, I'm here in LA. The event was all over the world. People were tuning in. I did the music for that. I do a lot of recording of music for people to input into their virtual meetings. Of course, I stream 2 to 3 days a week. And I've now added like game shows. Like just last night, we had Family Feud. We got Wheel of Fortune on Wednesday. We've done Hollywood Squares, The Match Game. We're premiering The Price is Right in January. So I do a lot of virtual, online kind of streamed game shows. And then I'm bringing this to now corporate clients. I just had a corporate client on 2 Fridays ago where they had a quick kind of holiday celebration virtually. And we play Family Feud for a good hour of it. And so they hire me and my tech guy, we come and do that. So now I've added on virtual events, in-person events, of course. Then I'm teaching next semester. I'm teaching 4 classes at Cal State University, Fullerton. And so that's kind of a mixture. So it's a mixture of teaching, events, virtual. And that's where we are, just trying to grow smartly and take it still, just be selective. It's kind of the goal right now. That's where we are.
Amani, I hear these things that you're doing, and in my mind, what I recurringly think of is those who are DJs who think that game shows, that's corny. The virtual space, that's corny. I need to be in front of the people and blah, blah, blah. And, I think as a general rule in life, not just in the DJ business, we can't get out of our own way. We just can't get out of our own way. You could not have told me in '86 that, I didn't have this kind of vision, but that, we do the gigs we do now and all this. But for you say that, but, our company has opened up into giant games. Our company has opened up into gaming systems where we have these big Madden challenges on 60-inch screens and, all of that stuff. And it is about that diversification. It is about, there's 1,000 DJs out there. But how many of those DJs, I'd bet less than 5% of those DJs know how to produce an online or in-person game show. Who can be that sort of host, because that's hokey, that's corny. I'm not going to be a sellout. Well, when that client over there is paying you $500 an hour to host a game show, I don't call that selling out. I call you providing for your family, or you're advancing your business. So so we found ourselves in those spaces, whether it be outdoor giant movie nights or giant games, or like I said, the gaming division. That, believe it or not, the worst luck we ever had was we started the gaming division 1 month before COVID. You mean you have joysticks and controllers that everyone has to touch when no one wants to touch anything anybody else touched. So there was the wrong timing for that, but there's still a space for it as things start to quietly and carefully open up. So, and I found myself in this studio, 6, 7, 8, 10 times a week. I've done some virtual events as you have, but podcasting has become something that I've found myself doing, which pays the bills as well. So I think it's important. So let's talk about it. You in 1988 or 1990 or whatever it was, you saw a 13, 14, 15-year-old DJ Kurtis at the rec center. Someone's looking at this podcast right now. What are you telling them? What direction are you sending them in if they want to be in the DJ business?
I tell them start learning how to DJ. Whether you go to classes, you can start online, get an instructor. Definitely learn. It's worth it. There's space for all of us. There's not enough good DJs out there. There are a lot of DJs, but not all of them are good. So start learning. Maybe get yourself, as I did with Kurtis, get yourself like a DJ mentor who can help you, guide you along. Maybe take you along to some gigs, show you about, signal flow, setting up speakers. And when things go wrong, you can watch how they handle it and the client never knows. I think that's really important. And then just continue to, if you want to be a DJ, collect, your music, make sure you can be a good music curator, pay attention to what's going on in the music industry, and just get started. I think a lot of people, I see this a lot on Twitch, like a lot of people want to stream.
Right.
They want to stream their DJ sets and they want to kind of do things, but they get scared. They get all the equipment. They have the fancy microphone, the nice mixer. They got the cool setup, all the pretty overlays. And then they have trouble, hitting go live. And I just say, go for it. You're not going to have all the equipment you want at the beginning. Just work your way to that. Use what you have to start streaming and start DJing, and just enjoy the journey, to say a cliche, but just get started. I think so many people get in their own way, as you said, and find a good mentor. Get the equipment, start. You probably have to do a couple gigs for free, but that's okay because it's learning. You might get tips, and let's go. Let's go for it.
One of my DJs, young guy, he is a sophomore at the University of Maryland, and he texts me every now and then for some advice. Hey, what microphone should I get? What headphones should I get? And he's training in our system, and he does some of the college parties over there. And he said, look, soon I'm going to take this Pioneer board, and I'm going to get a bigger Pioneer board. What would you suggest? And I stopped him because I use a Newmark board. Not a lot of people use a Newmark board. The big time DJs, you got to have Pioneer. I've done more with the Newmark board than most guys have done with their big $2,000 Pioneer board. So when you say that they got the fancy overlays and they got the equipment, they got the lights, they got this gold microphone with rhinestones on it, and they can't even get it to stream. They don't even, what? I think the skill of being a DJ, I'd rather be in a dirty nightclub, listen to a great DJ, than a nightclub that has everything set off and, cascading fountains, and the DJ is horrible. And there's a train wreck every other song. You say there are not enough good DJs out there. I think you're right. But I think it takes a lot to go from good to great. And I want to see where those great DJs are. I'm training my daughter right now. She's 13. I'm training her to be a DJ, and she's done her own gigs already. In fact, all the homecomings we did this fall, she curated that music list. And I told her, I think the number one thing that I would start her with, and I did start her with, is being a selector. You got to know how to play, what goes where. You can't play, if you're good, I guess you could play Bon Jovi and then, 2 Chainz back to back if you're really good, but you got to be that selector. You got to know, you got to look at that crowd and say, these women look like they're 35. So let me back it up 20 years to when they were in high school. What were they partying to then? And then let me work from there. I've always train my DJs, people really start getting into music when they're about 13. So if you can imagine how old they are, back it up to when they're 13, take them to their high school years, take them through their college years. You're building some good sets for these folks, because someone who's 35, they don't want to hear the latest song by Why Don't We or BTS. They want to hear what they were listening to 20. They want to hear Skilo. They want to hear, what's his name with the braids in his hair? Fantastic Voyage.
Coolio.
Coolio. They want to hear Coolio.
Yeah.
They want to hear Dr. Dre. They want to hear, they want to hear Drop It Like It's Hot, or whatever it is they want to hear, depending on their music genres. But being a music selector, because over the years I've run into a lot of young kids who want to play the latest song that's hot right now. And I get it.
Right. Yeah.
But, we gotta, you gotta be a aficionado.
You do.
Because I told my daughter, and if she were in the studio, she would tell you, I'm like, if you do an old school wedding, you better have Got to Give It Up by Marvin Gaye. You better hear Before I Let Go by Frankie Beverly Maze. You better hit the Cupid Shuffle. There are going to be some standards you got to hit. And even as a 13-year-old, she knows you got to play Got to Give It Up by Marvin Gaye.
Must.
It's a must play. I will turn her over to you in terms of her training when it comes to the slow jam hour, because that is all you. I'll give her Luther Vandross and Teddy Pendergrass, but you got to take it from there.
Oh yeah, we can keep going. Get some H-Town, Jagged Edge. Keep working. You got some Shirley Murdoch. Who was I playing the other day? Tony Terry, Mariah Carey. I love Mariah.
You better watch it. You talking
Mary
Tony
J.
Terry
Blige.
now.
Yes, Mary J. Blige. I mean, we can keep going. Gap Band, Yearning for Your Love.
Check this out. One of the songs, I cannot listen to it these days because my sister read it as a poem at my grandmother's funeral this year, but it was Better Days. It's Diane Reeves, maybe?
Yeah.
I can't do it. It just reminds me of my grandmother. You talk about a song. Right?
I mean, we can talk about this for days. Heather Headley. I mean, there's some gems in there. Just Confunction, Love's Train.
Can we talk Bobby Caldwell?
Yeah, What You Won't Do for Love.
There you go. All right, Amani, that's before your time. Come on, Amani, come on now.
But what you said is true. Like, reading a room is probably the most difficult thing for a DJ, because no two rooms are ever alike, just like no two snowflakes are ever alike. And so reading a room is tough, because you just have to really stay focused, use what you learn, and try things and be able to switch. And that's an acquired skill. That is a challenging thing for any DJ.
And that can only come through experience. I mean, we can't teach that. I told people, I had a training school way back in the day, and kids would pay tuition. They'd get a syllabus, they'd get a book that thick, and we had a classroom and studios and a warehouse and all of that. The two things I can never, ever, ever teach a DJ. I cannot teach you how to read the room. I cannot teach you how to feel comfortable on the microphone.
Yeah.
It's like basketball. It's like a sport. You only get good by doing it.
Right.
And you've got to play the wrong song at the wrong time and clear a dance floor before you realize two things. One, I better do not do that again in front of this crowd. And two, it's only a 4-minute mistake. We always talk about the 4-minute mistake. You play one song, it's only bad for 4 minutes. And you can you can cheat and play Cotton Eye Joe or the booty call next, just to get them back. But,
right.
I truly believe that, and I let our DJs, I won't say flounder, but I'm not the kind of trainer that takes my trainees and saves them from everything. You got to feel the heat of that crowd booing you because you cleared that dance floor to never want to go back there again, right?
Yeah.
Have you cleared the dance floor, Amani?
Of course. Yeah, of course. I've done it, and you got to get them back, and that's how you learn. No mistakes, only gifts is what they say in the improv world. Very true in DJing, because DJing is improv. No mistakes, only gifts. So you learn that maybe at this crowd, you don't want to play that song, or...
Hold on one second, Amani. Chelsea, are you here, Chelsea? Come here. She's here. She just walked in. Take your coat off, and I want to see if you can answer this question correctly. I hope she can, because I just gave you props on the podcast for being able to answer this. Look at her. She's wearing red like me.
Okay. How we doing? Question. Good to see you.
Hi.
At an old school wedding, give me a couple songs you absolutely have to play.
The song by Mary J. Blige.
Real Love.
When I'm walking past the mirror.
Which one?
That's Just Fine.
Yeah, she's talking about Just Fine. That's another good one. What else?
Yeah.
Before I Let Go.
I tried to tell you, Amani. I trained you right.
You make me happy.
What's the Marvin Gaye song? Ooh, come on now.
Okay,
come on.
Okay, what's going on?
No, not that one. I mean, that's a great song.
That's a great one.
Okay,
a little depressing.
You know what? She's got to go back to training school. Got to Give It Up by Marvin Gaye.
Got to give it up, yes.
Whatever.
What's going on? That's a little sad song. Yes, she's there. She's well within there. Yeah. Great job. So
what did you do to clear the dance floor? I'll tell you what I did. It was about, and I've done it probably 24 times in my career, but about 10 years ago, I played that song. Was it Nico and Vin's? Remember that song, Am I Wrong?
Yes. Am I wrong? Yes.
I played that at a wedding because I was feeling it and I knew they were going to rock at a wedding. Cleared the whole dance floor. Yeah. I got them back with Titanium, though. They love Titanium. But Am I Wrong? Oh, boy, I was wrong on that one, Amani. So what did you do to clear the dance floor?
I think I was at one of my big residencies, and I thought it'd be a good idea to drop an NSYNC song in there, maybe Bye 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 in the middle, sneak it in between some hip hop. Didn't work too well. So I had to bring back in, I think, some Snoop or whatever, and I got them back, and then we just went there, all hip hop the rest of the night, little function, and just kept going from there. Regulators, and then went from there. So yeah.
So you may have gotten a little ahead of yourself. Thought you were going to drop this gem in there, right?
Yes. Didn't work.
They let you know otherwise.
Quickly, yes. So yes. Changed that. Didn't make that mistake again. I might play NSYNC early in the night, but not closer to prime time.
Not the power hour.
No, not the power hour. Big mistake.
I'll tell you, I've done some school dances. I've probably been booed at school dances a couple dozen times because kids want to hear what they want to hear when they want to hear it. My philosophy with that is I've always trained my DJs. You got 500 kids at a homecoming. You got kids over here who want to hear EDM, kids over there who want to hear metal, kids over here that maybe 80% of your kids want to hear hip hop and top 40. Well, the kids over there in the corner who want to hear metal, they paid their $20 to get into the dance too. So I'm going to make sure I play something for them. Even if it means I get booed, I don't want the kids to go home to their parents and say, I paid my money to get into this dance and it sucked because the DJ didn't play anything I wanted. And you gotta have some heart to do that, to drop it knowing that 32 kids are going to dance and 460 kids are going to be pissed at you,
Yeah, because, we want everyone to be happy. So try to at least meet the needs of each guest with at least one or two songs.
I don't want anyone to leave there not having heard something they wanted to hear. Amani, you and I can do this all day, can't we? What's on your schedule today? Are you teaching today? What are you doing today?
Today, I'm grading papers. So I'm grading papers today because the semester, we had final exams last Thursday. Okay. So I have to grade some papers, some projects, and then try to get all the grades done the next kind of week to post them up. As I said before, just on Friday this past week, I finished grad school. The last project turned in, so I'm going to rest. and just kind of, just unwind and try to enjoy some downtime. And that's it, really.
Talk to you
self-care.
about Twitch. When are they going to see you on Twitch?
Twitch, you'll see me Wednesday. So I usually stream Sundays, Mondays, and Wednesdays. Sundays nights around 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 on the West is Slow Jams. And then usually Mondays at 8, I do game shows or a Twitch talk show. And then Wednesdays, I usually do another game show. So Wednesday will be Wheel of Fortune.
All right.
And then we'll do that. I think next Wednesday is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? That'll be our second episode of that.
Okay.
And yeah, that's kind of what we are working on. And I'm going to adjust my schedule for the upcoming year because my teaching schedule has changed. So I have to change some things around. But yeah, Twitch has been an interesting experience. Like I said, got partner status. It was a grind, but well worth it. We did an amazing award show. I do a lot of work on Twitch with like my girlfriend who's in New York. So it's just been a godsend. And so I really love it. And I apply the lessons I learned there. I'm much better on the microphone now because of the work you do on Twitch, because you have to talk on the mic there. So that's helped me improve tremendously. I can live stream. I know about all this equipment, these cameras, microphones, screens. It's
a nice microphone. Your studio looks like mine, man.
Yes. But this is all, if you saw where I started to where I am now, it's been a massive transformation in relatively like 18, 20 months. That's a very fast period of time. But I've learned OBS, all these, StreamYard, all these different platforms. I kind of know them very well now and just keep learning. So that's kind of the Twitch thing. And yeah, that's my schedule.
Well, we need the call to action. How can they find you on Twitch?
Yes, twitch.tv/Amani Experience. Give me a follow if you're so inspired. You can also subscribe to me for $5, $10, $25 a month there. And I'll just come to the shows, put a message in the chat. I'll shout you out. Just see what it's like.
I like shout you out.
Yes. I like to view Twitch like it's like live interactive TV. So we're doing things, but you can interact with the host and the guests, and it's a pretty cool thing. I'm a big fan.
All right. So on our social platforms, how can they find you? The Amani Experience, talk about the book, MPI. How do you want folks to connect with you?
You can find me across all social platforms, just Amani Experience, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. The book is on Amazon, so you can get it on Amazon as well as Audible for the listening version. And then the website's AmaniExperience.com. Those are the easiest ways to get me, and I'll respond to you.
You know what? All that's fine, but are you Amazon Prime? Can they get the book in 2 days?
Yes, you can get it in 2 days.
Whoa. You didn't tell me about that. I had to pre-order it, and I waited it must have been like a decade. No, it was probably a few weeks. I ordered, I got mine, but you on Prime? Hold on, Amani.
Prime.
You on Prime.
Well, the book came out April, what's the date on the book came out? I think it's April 14th, 2020, the middle of the pandemic. So
we're pushing 2 years?
Yeah, almost 2 years, yeah.
Come on, man. Good Lord.
And but just get it on Prime. Give me a review. We love reviews on Amazon. So a nice 5-star review would help. And get the Audible version. You can hear me talk and tell some stories. Just thanks for the support. I got to give Kurtis a shout out. My very first podcast episode. I have a podcast, the Amani Experience podcast. I think we're on about episode 170. I had to pause during grad school because I was just too overwhelmed. But I'm going to start it back up again in the new year with more interviews. Kurtis was my very first guest. First guest.
We talked about Chuck Brown and some more stuff, didn't we?
We did. Very first guest. And I've had that podcast now for 4-5 years. So
Amani, hold on a second. You mentioned something a few minutes ago about how you've evolved. And the studio looks a little different. Amani, we recorded a podcast and we sat at my dining room table, didn't we?
We did. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
With your mic and my mic, and you ended up taking the good mic, didn't you?
No, I think I gave the good mic to you because we need to hear more from you than from me.
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah.
But we did that at my dining room table 4 or 5 years ago, episode 1. I remember you came out with the graphic for it. I'm like, this guy's good. And I wasn't even podcasting 5 years ago. And now I'm asking you to be on my podcast. So I love that we have been able to do that. Amani, anything else you want the folks to know? They're going to find you on the social platforms. I hope some of our viewers and listeners join you on Twitch. What else do they need to know about the Amani Experience?
No, just continue to support Kurtis's podcast because it takes a lot of work. And just reach out to us, interact with us on all the socials, myself and Kurtis. And just thanks for the support. And thank you for inviting me to come on your podcast.
Absolutely, Amani. Well, I thank you for joining, obviously. I'm going to ask you to go backstage for a moment and let me close out this show. And we will we'll talk offline in just a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Amani Roberts, the Amani Experience. Don't call me a mentor. Call me your colleague now. I'm not a mentor. We can learn from each other. Yes. Amani Roberts, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Amani.
Thank you.
Wow. So that'll do it for today's episode of Conversations with Kurtis. Be sure to connect with me socially at Kurtis Talks on Instagram and Twitter, kurtistalks.com. You can also email me with podcast ideas. If you'd like to be a guest, if you know of someone who should be a guest, email me at kurtisandpaula@gmail.com. Don't forget our other podcast that I want you to listen to. Conversations with Kurtis is what you're listening to now, but the Kurtis and Paula Show. Take it to Yo with Turner and O'Neill, 911 Radio, and the Midnight Truck Stop. You'll find our family of podcasts just about anywhere you get your podcast content. Thanks for joining the conversation today. Feel free to spread the word. And as always, thank you, Khadijah. We'll see you next time.
Crosstalk, Conversations with Kurtis can be heard on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Music, and just about anywhere podcasts can be found.
From Washington, D.C. to Ocean City, Woodbridge to Columbia, Richmond to Virginia Beach, the hottest DJs are right here. The Mid-Atlantic Professional DJ Association.
Dynamic DJ Entertainment, the most experienced professional DJ service in the DMV. For 35 years, our DJ talent has been the energy behind more than 14,000 events. If you're planning your wedding, school dance, corporate event, Sweet 16, or any event, our talented team has the right mix of music and MC skills to bring the energy and turn any event into an epic event. In 35 years, our DJs have performed in front of more than 2 million guests in 26 states. Our services include dynamic DJ talent, karaoke, giant games, atmospheric effects, movie nights, and more. Contact us today and let's make your next event an epic event. Dynamic DJ Entertainment. Visit thepartybeginsnow.com or call 301-942-4500 to get the party started.